On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Philadelphia 76ers. The energy level did wane in this game, but SGA got to 32 points. Plus, up next, a big one against the Cavs.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're joined by Brandon Rabar, dailythunder.com, at Brandon Rabar on Twitter, 1077 The Franchise. Brandon, another sluggish game, another game that didn't really feel all that interesting, but the Sixers kept punching back, and they did make it close at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, the 76ers, to their credit, they fought. Like, everybody saw the injury report before this game, and it was like, oh, game's over. Like, bye game. You know, you don't get bye weeks in the NBA like you do the NFL, but maybe a bye game because Joel Embiid was out. Tyrese Maxey was out. Paul George was out. Even guys like Caleb Martin were out. KJ Martin. Of course, Jared McCain, possible rookie of the year before he got hurt. He's out for the year, unfortunately. But the 76ers kept fighting. These guys, I mean, we've seen it before with teams that are kind of like guys that are trying to prove something. They will fight. You can't just kind of overlook them. They got it to within 4 at the beginning of the fourth quarter, but the game still never felt in doubt. Like, I mean, the Thunder took a commanding, huge lead at the beginning of the game. 76ers stuck around, but when it got down to it, the Thunder realized, okay, well, we need to punch back. They punched back, and they ran away with the game at the end of the game.
Yeah, I thought that the Thunder's energy level started out really good. They were getting turnovers. They were capitalizing on those turnovers in the first quarter. And then it did wane, and it was a disastrous third quarter ending. I mean, you had an inexcusable turnover from Jay Whale to really cut things down at the last second of the third. But credit to the Thunder for getting back on track. They never trailed in this game. They at one point led by 21 points. That was way back in the first quarter. And then they kept it at arm's length for the vast majority of this game. I mean, you can count them up, and there's very few times where the Sixers got within single digits. I mean, they did it once in the first half, a couple times in the second half, and that was really it for what Philadelphia was able to do. The Thunder scored 62 points in the paint compared to Philadelphia's 42 points in the paint. They were living there. I thought it was a really good J-Dub game at getting to the rim and converting there. The Thunder shot 55% from the floor because of it, 33% from the three-point line, and 89% at the free throw line. Brandon, what did you make of the Thunder's offense in this game against a really depleted Sixers team?
Yeah, it felt like especially Shai and J-Dub could have scored at the rim pretty much any time they wanted to. I mean, they were kind of getting there at will, of course, with their bigs out. Even Drummond was out, like all their bigs. I thought that Shai, he started off 10 of 10. And at that point, if I was Shai, I would have just taken layups and dunks just to have the perfect game. Like, you know, if he could have had like over 30 points and not missed a shot, that would have been like a nice little, headline on social media for his MVP case. But of course, he ended up going 12 of 15 for 32 points. J-Dub, he had 6 free throws in the first half. You know, to your point about drawing contact, and it's something that J-Dub's been working on and something that's been talked about. His career high is 10 free throws attempted. He's done it twice. I thought for sure, because J-Dub got 6 free throws early, I thought, oh, he might break his record for free throws attempted. He ended up, unfortunately, with only 6. He didn't get any in the second half. But I thought that Shai, J-Dub, and Cason Wallace were all really good tonight.
Yeah, I thought Cason really showed you how he ties this starting five together with his ability to play off of these stars. I mean, he had multiple times where he's just found on perfect cutting opportunities. And then he had a couple threes, one from Shai with this like left-handed skip pass. That was a really good sequence from those two guys. He also adds in 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, many deflections, a plus 27 as he scores 18 points. I thought Kaysen played really, really good in this game, shot 70% overall, including 2 for 5 from 3. Lou Dort goes 2 for 5 from 3. And then you saw J-Dub also go 2 for 5 from 3. We could talk more about this game, but it was interesting to see Alex Caruso make his return. And he logged 17 minutes, puts up 3 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound, 2 steals, and a block. His 1 assist was an incredible find to a cutting Aaron Wiggins, which I thought was really good. The 3-point shot's still not there in his first game back, 1 for 3, but it was on good shot selection. And it was an interesting game because he came into it where the game was already over. And so it's your first taste of basketball, and it's not quite as intense as like it normally would be. So what did you make of Caruso's first game back?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, this was kind of a weird spot for him to come back, but it makes sense. You want to get one of these games under your belt because he's going to go from like the low intensity of this game. And like you said, the intensity was at the beginning of the game for the Thunder and at the end of the game. And he didn't play either of those spots. He kind of went in the middle where the game was just kind of funky. But now he's going to go and play that Cavs game, the rematch on Thursday night in OKC, which will be a lot of fun. So it's going to be kind of a funny, like, whiplash. But I thought Caruso was fine. He was a negative 15 in the plus and minus. But again, that's where like one game sample plus minus doesn't really mean anything. I thought Caruso was fine. And him being out there when the Thunder were losing the game, I don't think was on Caruso whatsoever. He should have had another assist. He had a really good steal and then a pass ahead to J-Dub that was going to go for an easy dunk or layup, and J-Dub just kind of fumbled the ball. But I thought that he was fine. Like, he didn't really do anything that's like – he looked like Caruso. He came in and he had hands on balls. He got steals. He got deflections. I thought we should have a no diving rule for Caruso, at least his first few games back. He started diving on the ground a couple of times. So he looked like Alex Caruso to me.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest takeaway for Caruso was just he looked the part. He looked like he was moving around very well. This is a guy who hasn't played NBA basketball in 10 games. So it was impressive to see that. And you mentioned the Cavs game. We're going to preview it at the end of the show. I'll just spoil that I think that the Caruso addition really helps this Thunder team. Like, if they have a shot to adjust to Cleveland, it's going to come with Caruso, which we're going to talk about coming up, including finishing up this Sixers recap. But first, what's there right now? But good friends over at Hungryroot. Go check out Hungryroot today, because when it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem of just not having the time between work, life, and trying to figure out what even to purchase. And that's where Hungryroot comes in. It takes the stress out of it. So you can forget going to the grocery store, and they might not have what you need there anyway. You can just discover Hungryroot, because it's a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungryroot, it's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of the grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based upon your tastes and goals, from anti-inflammation to high protein to gluten-free options. And the best part is every meal is ready in under 15 minutes. And you can go check them out today. And I'm talking really quick meals that actually taste good, and they're delivered straight to your door. So it's a huge time saver. It's a huge game saver with the addition of making healthy eating simple. Go right now to Hungryroot, because for a limited time, you get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life by going to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and using code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. You can also use code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. Brandon, this game here against Philadelphia, no Embiid, no Maxey, no Paul George. We know the Embiid storyline. They've already lost Jared McCain for the season. The Paul George is getting bored stuff. Like, what do you make of Philadelphia just in general? I think that we keep extending them the privilege of playing in the East of like, okay, it's going bad and you want to forget this season even happened, but you're only a couple games out of the play-in and the East is so terrible. But man, they're 4-6 in their last 10. They're on a 3-game losing streak. And you always feel like, okay, this is the stretch that they're going to turn it around. And I wonder if they've blown it, if they've blown that opportunity, because you look ahead now after this loss to OKC, you play New York, Indiana, Milwaukee, Denver, Cleveland, Chicago, the Lakers, Kings, Nuggets, Celtics. Where are you gonna recover? Like, where are you gonna recover this record at? I don't know what to make of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I was the same way. Just because they're in the East, it's like, well, they're always going to be within reach of, at worst, the play-in because it's the East. But like you said, the stretch coming up, we are almost halfway through the season now, Rylan. Like, I think we kept expecting, like, all right, they're going to go on a run. They're going to get healthy. If they have even 2 of those big 3 in the East, they'll get enough wins. They'll scrape together enough wins to make the play-in and then probably make the playoffs. But here we are almost halfway through, and I'm not sure now, especially with this stretch coming up and not knowing exactly what's going on with Joel Embiid's injury and when he's going to come back. And, if he's not playing, back-to-backs still, that's a lot of games and a lot of potential losses, especially for a team that's not really that deep past their big 3. I tell you what, though, it's kind of the sweet spot for the Thunder as far as having their draft pick this season. This was a draft pick that I think, especially once they signed Paul George, everybody kind of blew that draft pick off like, oh, that's going to be like the 25th pick this season. It's going to be a low pick. And here we are. They're not going to be bad enough to finish in the bottom 6. Because if you look at the teams behind or ahead, whatever you want to look at, however you want to call it, in Tankathon, like these teams are firmly in the capture of the flag race. When you're talking about teams like the Jazz and the Blazers and the Hornets and teams like that, the 76ers aren't going to do that and bottom out, but they're also not going to pick up enough wins to like be in that top 6 in the East. So it's kind of a sweet spot for the Thunder as far as having a top 6 protected pick in a pretty stacked draft.
Yeah, that's where I don't know what the Sixers should do, is because they're a couple games out of the East play-in, but they're also a couple games out of the 7 spot on Tankathon, and 3.5 games out of the 6 spot on Tankathon with a top 6 protected pick and a loaded draft class. Like, you could make the argument that they clearly punted this game. I mean, last night only Embiid was on the injury report. Today, all of a sudden, Paul George is probable, doesn't play. Maxi's questionable, doesn't play. Like, they clearly punted this game and are going to go try to win the New York game tomorrow on ESPN. But, at what point do you just pack it in for the year? And we'll see what happens with some of those teams above them in the standings in the positive direction of like, what if Miami, moves on, of course, from Jimmy Butler and the package isn't that great? Do they suffer from that? And the Sixers can capitalize on that? Maybe. But I love the Sixers on paper. I really do. I just don't know how we're going to get to that version of them. And maybe they can finally turn it around after this stint here. But Brandon, sticking on this game now from a Thunder's perspective, Isaiah Hartenstein, 9 points, 16 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Him and J-Dub had a sequence where they each got their block in back-to-back possessions in that first quarter when things were just dominating for the Thunder. He only has to play 30 minutes in this one and goes 4 for 7 from the floor and 0 for 1 from 3. He did try another three-pointer, but still searching for that first make. What did you see from Hartenstein against a team where he had the advantage of there's not really a big out there that you're scared of?
Yeah, I mean, he just dominated on the board. 16 rebounds, 3 offensive. Bummer, he was 1 point away from yet another double-double. I thought he was great. He was dominant. Like you said, just the 76ers down Embiid and Drummond just did not have the bigs to go up against Hartenstein. And like you said, he didn't even have to play that many minutes. A 3 is coming from Hartenstein. It's coming soon. He's going to make one of these soon. He's picking it up. Like, he's actually attempting them lately. Like, one a game over the past couple weeks. He's getting them up there. He's going to make one of these. He keeps back rimming them. Like, they keep being just like a little long.
Mhm.
One of those is going to fall soon. That's my big hot take for Hartenstein.
Well, that will be electric whenever that first three from Hartenstein falls after all of the talk about that over the last few months here since he's been signed to OKC. Brandon Carlson, the 7-footer, had no problem knocking down a three. Another garbage time triple from him. I mean, what a week he's had, hitting a three in the Garden, hitting a three here. So shout out to Brandon Carlson. Otherwise, though, we've kind of hit everything from this game. There's not a ton to talk about. I thought that Isaiah Joe played a really good game, and this is an example of a game where whenever we gave him that praise for the output on Friday, it wasn't just the fact he was making shots. He was kind of doing the little things right, and they were running actions for him to get him clean looks. This was a game where he did the little things right. The shots didn't go in at a high enough clip. Like he went 2 for 6 from 3, but the process was still a lot better, kind of closer to that Friday process. And then you're just going to trust that he's going to make these shots more than he misses. But overall, from the floor, he still goes 4 for 8. He picked up a couple charges. He got an assist. He got a rebound. He had 10 points total. There was a +4. So I thought that Isaiah Joe overall played really well, and you're still just waiting for him to consistently knock down that 3 ball.
Yeah, you know who could have really used Isaiah Joe tonight? The Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, I mean, they were over there playing rookie council and a 90-year-old Eric Gordon. They could have really helped them. I mean, you had Jeff Dowling Jr. out there, who had a great game, by the way. Shout out Jeff. But I did like the Adam Bona minutes from the Sixers. He's just a fun guy. Like he's kind of just a throwback rim runner. And so he had 7 points and 3 rebounds, but he ultimately gets in foul trouble too much, and you can't really play him in like legitimate games. But anyone who watched this game knows that no matter what the scoreboard said, this game was never in danger. And I think that that's why you saw some of the outcry that you did on social media during this game, is that like nobody thought the Thunder would lose, but they shouldn't have put themselves in a position to like make it close as it was, especially after that Jay Will turnover to close out the third. But ultimately, the Thunder did enough on getaway day, and there is still something to be said about that, of a week-long road trip coming to an end with another win, and you only lost that Cleveland game in Cleveland as the only blemish. You blew out New York, you blew out Washington, and then in this game, you can call it a blowout too, where they beat the Sixers. Only downside of the Thunder beating the Sixers, we don't get to hear the Sixers song, and that's the best song in the NBA. One of the best songs in sports. It's like Rocky Top. It's the Miami Dolphins fight song, and then it's clap your hands, everybody, for Philadelphia.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. And I always enjoy like the Rocky statue, there's always certain shots in every city of the NBA. Always that Rocky statue always gets me a little bit hype. Like if I played in Philly, like before pickup games, I'd like go run up and down those steps, like get psyched for my pickup game in my church league. So no, final takeaways from this game for me, going back to Isaiah Joe, he kind of bumped knees, it looked like there at the end, and he was kind of wincing in pain, but he finished out the game the last minute. I think he's fine. Hopefully, all is good with Isaiah Joe. This is just one of those games. Thunder clearly better than the 76ers, down all their guys. And I think, kind of took the pedal off the gas in the second and third quarters. Some uncharacteristic turnovers, which kind of happen when you're not playing with the same intensity and you're just kind of going through the motions. But when they needed to kind of clamp down, they did that. And they still ended up with a 16-point win. So, you move on and you look forward to the Cavs matchup, the rematch on Thursday,
which we're going to preview here on Locked On Thunder. We're back talking to you, but our good friends over at Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like getting your home a little TLC. I've always found that decluttering the home and refreshing the space gets you back into a routine. It makes it really easy to get back on track. So whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the new year, Wayfair has everything you need all within your budget. So you can be currently looking for furniture just like I am, where I'm looking for this nice bookshelf. It's hard to find the exact piece that I want to fit the style, fit the budget, and you can go there to Wayfair and find exactly that with free, hassle-free delivery, even on large items. Wayfair sites makes it easy so you can navigate the site and you can find everything that you need in no time. Make sure you check them out today because there's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget at Wayfair. Give your home a refresh that it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball, talking with Brandon Rabar at Brandon Rabar on Twitter, 1077 The Franchise. Brandon, Thunder beat the 76ers, but now they turn their sights to returning home. Kind of an awkward, like they're basically coming back for a homestand, but there is that back-to-back to where Friday they're going to be in Dallas, which is not, of course, too far of a drive. Going to be in Dallas, and then they get to return home for a little bit, which will be awesome for this team. But Brandon, when you look at this Cavs game, we just saw it play out. It lived up to all the hype. It was an incredible game. These are two bona fide title contenders. The Cavs are awesome. The Thunder are awesome. And the only real adjustment that I can see happening is twofold. Number one, the old adage goes, your role players play better at home. Can you get just jaw-dropping shooting nights from Joe and Wiggins in this game and help you turn the tide a bit against Cleveland? And can you see like Jerome and Strus not have as good of a game on the road, even though they've been awesome all season long, home or road? So that's one, but it's not a true adjustment. The true adjustment I think that the Thunder can have in their back pocket is Alex Caruso. And I think that they should play him early and often because whenever you go back and listen to Sam Presti talk about this addition, he right away mentions how Caruso is one of the best scalable defenders at scaling up to bigger bodies. Caruso, of course, played center for the Thunder in a pinch whenever they didn't have Hartenstein or Holmgren, and he talked about being able to handle that as much as he would prefer not to. But this is a game in which you saw how Mobley and Allen dominated, and they're still going to dominate this game, but you can make life a bit more uncomfortable on them if, Caruso's the low man rotating in versus anyone else on the roster not named Hartenstein to present a bigger threat whenever Hartenstein gets pulled into action on the ball. So I think that the Caruso addition could be pretty big.
Yeah, I agree. This was such a close back and forth game. There's 30 lead changes and 8 ties in Cleveland, where Cleveland has been great this season. And like you said, that's without Caruso. So 2 big swings here. Like you said, the Thunder have only lost 2 games at home all season. One was the game in which Chet got hurt, and obviously that changed everything that night. And then another game against the Mavs. It was a 2-point loss against the Mavs in that little, era where they didn't have either Chet nor Hartenstein. So the Thunder have been great at home, just like Cleveland has been great at home. But like you said, Caruso is the big factor here. Having him back, what that means, not only perimeter defense, but like you said, seeing him scale up against, the Cavs have all this size and they have all the scoring. So, Ty Jerome went off, obviously had a little revenge game against the Thunder. But like you said, if they just slow down some of those role players and having Caruso's scalability, I just think that having him, he causes chaos and he just brings the defensive intensity up. I just think that the Thunder are going to, this is the Cavs and they have the number 1 offense in the league, but I do think that we'll see a better defensive effort from the Thunder because of Caruso, but also because of the home crowd and the energy that the Thunder will play off in Oklahoma City. I don't see the Thunder giving up 130 points to the Cavs again.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And a guy we know that they won't have, but might have soon is Chet Holmgren, who is still out. I think that you and I are both in the mindset of post All-Star break, early March. He was on the court today after shoot around, getting some shots up. I want to say there's obviously a long way to go from shooting around after practice to playing in an NBA game and playing the center position in an NBA game. So I still think it's a good thing. I shout out to Chet, glad he's out on the court. From talking to him, how much that just the ability to pick up a basketball and put it at the rim like means to him, much less getting back on the court and actually playing. So like from that standpoint, it's really cool. I would just caution like now all of a sudden, even a guy like KOC is like, oh, Chet's back soon. I mean, soon's a relative term. I don't think he's back like soon, like the way that people will read that. And like, especially someone who's like national, like someone will read that and not be like in the day-to-day grind of what the Chet news is and think that soon means like Thursday or next week or something like that. I still don't think it means all that soon. I think it means like All-Star break, post All-Star break, March, like somewhere in that time span.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I thought post All-Star break the entire time, and I still think that, he's been hitting his marks where he's supposed to be. And seeing him on the court, putting shots up is really encouraging. But to me, it's encouraging in the same way that seeing him without crutches was encouraging, and seeing Chet, just being on the road trip, being with the team on the road was encouraging. Like these are like the steps you got to take. It's the whole ramping back up to gameplay. So it's very nice, very encouraging to see Chet out there putting shots up. But I just think that it just means he's hitting his marks. And whereas I thought, and you thought he would be back post All-Star break, I still think that. And the Thunder have no reason to rush him back. They're not going to rush him back. When he's healthy, when he's in game shape and ready to play, that's when he's going to play. And but I tell you what, though, this Thunder team, as great as they've been, when you go back, I was actually looking at like highlights from his first 9 games this season when he played.
Oh, you're having a little afternoon delight, huh?
Yeah, well, because seeing him put those shots up, I was like, they're adding this guy back at some point later down the season, down the road, and so I was like, how good was he? Because my memory of him was like, because he was in the talk of, defensive player of the year and all-star.
I mean, the first 2 weeks of the year, he was like MVP stats.
He was. So I went back and watched that. I was like, yeah, he's adding that to this team is going to be wild, as great as they've been.
It's going to be wild. We'll break that all down when it happens. But Brandon, thank you for joining us again for another sleepy game. Hopefully Thursday will be an incredible game that you and I will be recapping from the arena on OKC Dream Team. We can find both of us there. You can find Brandon at 1077 The Franchise and dailythunder.com. You can find myself on Thunder on SI, plus right here every single day on Locked on Thunder. Until tomorrow, be good and be good to one another.